this verse is indicating that there's a difference between matter and spirit. Are you following? So then it says, Vikramscha. So it's saying all the changes that we're seeing, they're coming from Prakriti. They're born from matter. The changes in the body, such a simple verse, but such a profound verse. The changes you see in the body, are they due to change in Jivatma, or are they due to change in transformation in Prakriti? We'll see. Yeah, transformation in Prakriti. You're going to go into medicine, so you will see lots of that, right? So, due to changes in Prakriti, not due to changes in Jivatma. So, Purusha, what it's saying is, Prakriti and Purusha Chaiva, that the two have been perpetuating together since Anadi, since the beginning of time, which is before this current material creation. And that's what Prakriti Sambhava means, that this transformation is being produced by changes in Prakriti. Okay? Changes in matter. So take home message from that verse is Prakriti and Atma are timeless. Point 1. Point 2 is that Prakriti is matter. Atma is spirit. Point 3 is that Prakriti is unconscious matter. Atma is conscious spiritual being. Point 4 is that all the changes that we see, please come sit. All the changes we see around us are due to changes in matter, not changes in Atma or Jiva. Pretty clear, right? Next one, number 21. Karya karan kartate, hetu prakriti uchate, purusha sukha dukhana, bhaktitve hetu uchate. So please remember this word, bhaktitve. So it's saying nature is said to be the cause of material causes and effect, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Pretty confusing, right? A lot of senior devotees feel that chapter 13 is the most complex chapter in the Gita. It almost sounds like, for those of you that have read Shastra, it almost sounds like Upanishad. And a lot of them are similar to Upanishadic statements. Upanishads are the philosophical commentaries on the Vedas. So it's saying material changes are being produced by Prakriti, is what it's saying. But is Prakriti experiencing emotion? I take a tree and I cut it down and I saw it and I nail it into a table. So it's undergone a change. It's undergone a vikara. It's transformed, right? From a piece of wood that's standing like this to a piece of wood that's like this. Now, in that process of the change, is this piece of wood experiencing an emotion? No. Why? Because it's unconscious. It's matter. It's not sentient, right? So who's experiencing the emotions and how? That's what this verse is saying. The first verse was introducing us to Prakriti and Purusha. This verse is talking to us about consciousness and experience. You know, it's like a movie is playing, right? And the movie's going to play whether I'm there or not, right? You turn on Netflix or whatever, or you go to a movie theater. If I'm sitting in front of the TV, I'll see the movie. If I'm in some other room, the movie's still playing. Is the movie experiencing itself? No. It's just a matter of changing. A gross example. Right? So what is it actually experiencing the emotion of the change of matter? It's Purusha, it's Jivatma. So simple. So changes are occurring, vikaram, transformations are occurring of matter all around us continuously in our lives. That change doesn't affect matter, it affects us. Why? Why? Because here it says, Purusha Shukha Dukkana Bhaktritva Hetu Uchate. Uchate means is said. The point is that even like in the simple example of a movie, even if there's no observer, the movie will go on. Things will happen just by the process of Prakriti moving, Vikaram, right? This verse is saying is that the experience, that enjoying mentality is called Bhaktitva here. Bhaktitva. You can see it in the last line. Srila Prabhupada says this, in enjoyment. In enjoyment. So this enjoying mentality, the verse is saying, is the cause of sukha and dukkha, is the cause of happiness and distress. So matter is getting transformed. Matter is not experiencing its transformation. The Jivatma that's within that body is experiencing that transformation because of a desire to enjoy. You follow? So what it's saying is there's two causes of everything that we see. One is matter is changing, but the second cause superseding that is this experience of the jiva within matter. Jiva is, it's pointing out, is the main cause. There are two causes, matter of change, matter, and Purusha or Jiva, Atma. But it's the Jiva Atma that's the main presider over it. Right? Spirit is not present within matter. Matter can do nothing. That's why Srila Prabhupada says devotional service is taking matter and using it for the service of the Lord, and that makes it spiritual. So matter without the presence of spirit is non-functional. It can do nothing. Without the silicon is there, right? And in the particles of sand and etc. But without a conscious entities, the engineers at Intel and other organizations, taking that matter and somehow or other making it into a chip, nothing will happen. So the higher cause of transformation or changes that we see, changes in matter occur, but the experience, they occur because of the experience of the jiva. The jiva wanting to enjoy matter is what this is saying. So Acharyas say that Prakriti is an instrument of action, but the experiencer of that action is Jivatma. So matter will continuously change, but how we enjoy and what kind of distress we experience from it depends on how much we identify with it. So matter is continually changing. We see this all around us. How much we experience that change depends on how much we identify with matter. But we know ultimately from the teachings of Bhagavad Gita that who is the ultimate enjoyer? So we're enjoying bhaktitva, the changes in matter, but who's the ultimate enjoyer? It's Bhagwan. As above, so below. As in the spiritual world, so down here. We're just small-scale enjoyers. Bhagwan enjoys unlimitedly, infinitely. My mother once asked a sannyasi that was staying at our home a very funny question. I wasn't there for that. But my wife Bhakti Rasa told me. And this is Bhakti Vasudev Maharaj. And he's very jovial and happy and funny. So he was having prasadam, and he eats very, very simply. And my mother, like most Indian mothers, they can say whatever. At least the older Indian mothers. And she said to him, Maharaj, why is it that Krishna can eat all these pounds of butter and sweets and all this kind of stuff? And why can't we? And my wife told me that Maharaj started laughing so hard that he almost fell out of the chair. He said, because Krishna is a transcendental body and we don't. So we experience the happiness and distress of our enjoying propensity, whereas Krishna, it's all spiritual. Hare Krishna. So Krishna is the actual enjoyer, is the point of that conversation that occurred. And, but we don't necessarily experience that in our, spiritual lives always. Because ultimately it is we who is authorizing and sanctioning as a Paramatma what we experience in a way. But Krishna doesn't take away one thing. What does Krishna not take away from us? What was the main instruction of Lord Vamanadev passed on? Most of you know about Vamanadev and Bali Maharaj. So Vamanadev took everything away from Bali Maharaj, right? But he couldn't take away one thing. What was that? His free will. Who said that? Yes, his free will. That's the main instruction. He couldn't take away his free will. So Krishna never does that. So the pure spiritual Atma, which is actually blessed to be pure spirit, comes into the realm of material nature and starts experiencing happiness and distress by guna sangha, by contact with matter. So once again, Krishna is distinguishing between matter and spirit again in this verse. One is simply a transforming agent, prakriti, and the other is a experiencing, therefore conscious entity, the Atma, the Jiva. And the Jiva is presiding over prakriti and experiencing happiness and distress. Srila Prabhupada gives another example. A country creates a jail, right? State of Oregon creates a penitentiary, a jail. And the state has citizens. And state gives instructions to the citizens how to behave. But if they don't behave legally, then they wind up in jail. So who was the deciding factor? Was it the state or was it the citizen in being within that jail? It was the citizen, right? Citizen chose to not follow the legal guidelines and therefore had to be put in a jail. And that's the way material world works. Prakriti is creating action, but it's the jiva that's because of its desire to have bhaktitva, enjoy prakriti, then the jiva gets sukha dukkha. We're speaking in chapter 13. So the more one forgets, we're doing 20 through 22, talking about the soul in Prakriti. So the more Jivatma forgets their spiritual identity due to this desire to enjoy Bhaktritva, the more that Jivatma experiences Sukha Dukkha, happiness and distress. So we took two things, Prakriti and Purusha, and Atma and material nature, and they've been associating together from Anadi, from time immemorial. All the changes that we're seeing around us are due to change in matter, not due to changes in Atma. So activities occurring through Prakriti. But the experiencer of those changes in activities has to be the Atma. Because Prakriti is not conscious, it cannot experience. A piece of wood cannot experience 1,000 pounds on top of it or 1 ounce on top of it. Only the Jiva can experience that. Without the presence of Prakriti, time ceases to exist. Because this is Sankhya principle. Kapil Dev explains this. If there's no change, will we notice time? If we don't see Anirudh going from a small baby to a bigger child to high school, then we appreciate progress of time. But if we see Anirudh forever as a little baby, we won't experience change. And therefore time will cease. And that's what the spiritual world is. It's profound. Acharyas explained this. That because of absence of Prakriti, that's why time is not present in the spiritual world. And because of the presence of Prakriti here in material creation, that's why we experience time. Because time is not associated with Jivatma, time is associated with matter. Because Jivatma never changes, right? Na jayate viryate va kadachi. So, then coming back to, just remember the key word here in this verse 21 was bhaktitva. This mentality of enjoying is the thing, is the problem. So coming back now to the verse that we started with, Purusha Prakritastuhi, this is verse 22. Bhunkte Prakriti Jan Guna, Karanam Guna Sangrasya, Sad Asad Yoni Janmasha. This verse is making clear here that the jiva is experiencing sukha, happiness and distress, while living within Prakriti. So why is jiva associated with Prakriti? If jiva, by its spiritual nature, is blissful, why is it associated with Prakriti? This verse very clearly says it. It's because jiva has beginningless, anadi desire for objects. Karanam guna sango. So sangha means attachment. Karana guna sangha. Attachment. The jiva has a time immemorial attachment for objects made of matter. The gunas, there's a mode of nature, right? Sattvic, rajas, tamasic. The gunas are byproducts of Prakriti. So this verse is saying that, jiva has a beginningless desire. We know that from verse 20, where Krishna says, anadi. The two of them been associating since before material creation. The jiva has this desire to enjoy objects made of gunas. In the previous verse, the word enjoy was bhaktritve. And in this verse, the same slight change, bhunkte. Bhaktritve and bhunkte mean the same thing, to enjoy. The same thing is being said. To enjoy what? The jiva has a timeless desire to enjoy. To enjoy what? Prakriti Jan Guna. Objects that take birth from Prakriti. That's the nature of the jiva. It has a timeless, beginningless desire to enjoy objects made of nature. Why is this? Because why would something pure and spiritual have this beginningless desire to enjoy objects made of matter, when itself is spirit? And it's because the jiva, atma, how many lives have we lived in the material world? Does anybody know? Countless, right? Innumerable is what Srila Prabhupada calls it. Innumerable lives in this material world. We have taken on innumerable bodies. And in the process of taking on those bodies, it's like Gauranga Prabhu says that if you give a gulab jamun to somebody and ask them to walk through a salt mine, Jaisacinandana Prabhu ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Lakshmi Narasimha ki jai. So Gauranga Prabhu says that very nicely. He says, if you give somebody rasgulla or a gulab jamun and ask them to walk through a salt mine, what's the rasgulla or gulab jamun going to taste like at the end? Sweet and syrupy? It'll have some salt on it, right? So likewise, we've gone through so many lives that the jivatma has become contaminated with impressions from our past lives. So when one leaves the body, the jivatma carries the impressions from that body to the next body in the form of karma and guna. And to the extent of our attachment and our craving, to that extent, one is predisposed to pursue, this pleasure-enjoying mentality. So something pure spirit has this desire to experience transformations occurring in matter because of contaminations from past lives. Contaminations from past lives. Previous verse taught us that because of enjoyment, this bhuktritve, we will experience sukha dukkha, happiness and distress. This verse actually goes beyond that. This verse doesn't just say that we will experience happiness and distress. This verse says because of that mentality, we will undergo sad asad yoni janmashu. Sad asad yoni janmashu. Yoni means womb. In Sanskrit, yoni can mean birth. Sad asad, good and bad. Janmashu, janma means birth. Because of previous said, because of this enjoying mentality, we experience happiness and distress. This verse is saying something even deeper. It's saying because of that mentality, we're going to get another body. As long as bhukte or bhuktritve is there, we will get transference of the jivatma from one body to another body. Because of these contaminations from past karmic activities that we have, that have left impression on our atma, that I want to enjoy this. Why is it that some people enjoy eating X and some people enjoy eating Y? Because it's impression from past life. Why is it somebody wants to come into spiritual awareness and somebody has no interest whatsoever? It's contamination from past lives that's affecting them. And as a result, because of this, the jiva is awarded the suitable body based on that impression or contamination of bhuktritve or bhukte. Sri Ramanujacharya explains this very nicely. He says, the reason this occurs, that yes, it is true that this is due to contamination of past lives. And more profoundly, he says, so this is an opportunity by previous innumerable karmic activities, innumerable, to cause us to appear in good and evil situations. And that it never ends, it's anadi, because the whole idea is it's a way of running out our impression. We get an impression, so we get a body. We have to act out the impressions on that body. And in the process of acting them out, we get other karmic reaction. Again and again and again. He calls it circumvolution. Like evolution in Western science is linear. Evolution in Vedic science is circular, right? Even the yogas are circular, they're not linear like what we talk about in Western archaeology or geography. He says it never ends until somehow there's enough accumulation of some sukriti, some good fortune, in the process of taking birth and rebirth, birth, death, old age, death, like that. Somehow or other we aggregate enough sukriti, enough fortune to attain the association of a Vaishnava, devotee of the Lord. And then our destiny is altered and upgraded. And Srila Prabhupada refers to this here in the last paragraph. He says, this change can only be affected by hearing from authoritative sources. That the cycle of birth and death within material world can only be changed by hearing from authoritative sources. And he gives the example of Arjuna. He said, Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. A living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature. What is that called? That's called bhakti or bhaktatva. A living entity, if he submits to the hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionally he reduces his long desire to dominate. He comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. So what's the solution of Purusha Prakriti Stalhi? Is to eliminate bhukte and bhaktritva. And how do we eliminate bhukte and bhaktritva? Is we hear from devotees of the Lord. And by hearing, what do we get? Hearing gives us one thing. It gives us faith in the Shastra. And that faith in Shastra is the essence of spiritual life. Right? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed Sri Rupa Goswami, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan. He said, Adav Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Nartha Nivritti, etc. And Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says something very profound. He said, all these steps, like going from weak faith that brings one into the temple, I want to do something pious, I'll come into a temple. Or I'm suffering in the material world, I'll come into the temple. That weak faith, by associating with sadhu, what do you do when you associate with sadhu? You serve them, but you hear from them. And as a result, the weak faith gets transformed. And he said, then you do bhajana kriya, you do devotional service. And that faith gets stronger. And then you do anartha nivritti. You start seeing the things that before I was pretty much blind to within myself that are holding me back. That requires a stronger faith. And then once I improve that, then I get steadiness, nishta. And then once I get that steadiness in devotional service, so I'm not doing this. Some days black, some days little, some days loud, some days little. When I'm steady, then I get taste. Taste means I get stronger faith in the scripture. And then as a result of that, I get ashakti. I get attachment. I get detachment from matter. And I get attachment to spirit. And as a result of that, I get a stronger faith called bhava. I start experiencing spiritual emotions. So by hearing, we're transforming our faith from weaker to stronger. Faith in what? Faith in Shastra. it's expanded our reading of Shastra, hearing of Shastra, chanting the holy name, most importantly, associating with devotee. I was just reading, somebody sent me an email from China on a Chinese devotee who's had cancer and now has cancer again. And she wrote a letter to her spiritual master and said, I'm not really inclined to have treatment. That's her personal decision. She said, one thing I know for a fact is that I never want to leave the association of devotees. That's a lot of devotees say that, but when you know that end of life might be coming right then, most of us don't even know when, right? For somebody to say that, that's a powerful statement. One thing I know is I never want to leave association. That's really nice. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any questions or comments, corrections? I noticed, yes.
So I have a clarification question. So
yes.
You're talking about example of table and matter. I understand it's not conscious.
Yes.
So when I think of matter or material nature, am I not supposed to look at plants, trees around me? Because I don't look at them fully like matter.
Yes.
And the second thing is that it says nature is the cause of all material causes and effects. If it's just pure matter, it still has the power to influence and create those causes and effects. Maybe my understanding of matter versus...
Yeah, so Jiva, Srila Prabhupada explains that certainly there's Jiva within the tree and the plant, but it's more of a covered consciousness. But we're talking about when the Jiva is absent from that, when the Jiva is departed, that consciousness is departed that. At that point, that piece of matter does not experience the effects of change and transformation. And then the second comment was about, let's say that one again.
Like nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effects.
Yes.
I think if nature is pure matter, but it's still having significant influence in creating these causes.
Because matter by its nature transforms. It has vigata, the first verse talks of vigata. So matter will transform itself from solid block of ice to a liquidy water. So it will undergo transformation, but it won't have a personal experience of that transformation because the matter is unconscious, it's not sentient. So these verses fundamentally are trying to show us difference between spirit and matter and the interaction between both. And once we understand that, then we can leave the world of matter. What's the first thing that comes into existence in material creation? There's pradhan, right? Pradhan is unmanifested matter. By the glance of Mahavishnu, false ego. Jiva, time, false ego injected into pradhan. What's the last thing that leaves before one goes back to spiritual world? False ego. Okay. We can talk about that. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Let's have Arti Kirtan. If devotees can put the mats away, please, and stand up and chant the holy names, and give us a chance to forget both Bhukti and Bhaktitva. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, sir. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama महाराज के नेता जन संपाद परमहंस परिवार सदस्य भक्त सिद्धांत ठाकुर वसंत महाराज की सर्वसंत भगवान की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय। फ्रेंड्स को जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय, भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी के, श्री श्री निताय सचिनंदन भगवान के, श्री श्री कृष्ण बलराम भगवान के, श्री श्री राधा माधव राधा श्याम सुंदर श्री वृंद की जय, जगन्नाथ बलभद्र सुभद्रा महारानी चक्र सुदर्शन देव की जय, जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय, मायापुर नवदीप धाम की जय, वृंदावन धाम की जय, शुभ मध्याह्न आरती की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव भक्त वृंद की जय, वरुण लघु पावन हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय, निताय गौर सीतानाथ प्रेमानंदे हरे। और गौरीश कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण, और गौरीश कृष्ण हरे कृष्ण, और गौरीश गुरु गोपाल की जय।
Yeah, they come. He's going to come to you. Now, we're going to come to you. Where's the card? Bhakti Nitya ki Jai. Very nice. Pretty soon you're going to be a big careful leader. You're taking nice harmonium lessons, huh? Thank you. This is Nitya. So, how old are you now, Nitya?
How old are you?
9. So, very nice to memorize the entire bhajan and to be able to play. That's very wonderful. Everybody can appreciate the effort that went into that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Krishna Jaisacinandana ki jai. So, anyone here for the first time? Oh, yes. So, do you want to stand up and introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. Hi everyone, I'm Sachit and I live nearby, and so this was my first day here. I wanted to see, I would come on a regular basis. So
Thank you. Thank you for coming. Have you ever gone to ISKCON Temple before?
No. My parents went to the West Virginia Vrindavan
Vrindavan.
Temple, and so they had recommended that
Did you grow up in the U.S.?
No, I grew up in Nepal,
Okay.
and then when I was in my mid-teens, I came to the U.S.
Thank you very much.
In the East Coast, please.
East Coast?
Yeah.
So now you work at Intel and
Yeah.
live in Hillsborough. Thank you. So let's appreciate Prabhu making the effort to come with a loud Hari Bol.
Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Thank you very much. Yes. Do you mind?
Hi, I'm Sarju. My friend introduced me here, so I never knew that. I live just a mile away from here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so this is the first time here. I've been to a couple of ISKCON temple in Bangalore.
Okay.
But this is the first time here. Yeah.
You're originally from Bangalore?
No, I'm from Nepal as well.
Oh.
I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm from Nepal as well. It wasn't coincidence,
Nepal?
Right.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for
having
having
us.
You're also in Intel?
Yeah, I work for Intel. I've been living here since past 20 years.
So he's working at Intel too. So
Yeah, so I'm
you can form a nice community of devotees, chant together, associate together. Very nice. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's welcome Prabhu with a loud Hari Bol.
Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Anyone else here for the first time? Okay. Any word? Yes.
I come first time here.
You're here with your friend? Where do you
I'm
live?
from India.
India. Where in India are you from?
Pune location.
Pune. Very nice. So you must have had a lot of association with Pune, right? There's a big temple there. What's your name?
Ravindra.
Ravindra. Are you here by yourself or family? Just by yourself?
Yeah, I'm with family.
That's
Not that.
oh, okay. Hare Krishna. Nice to see you all. So let's welcome Prabhu with a loud Hari Bol as well.
Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol!
Thank you very much for we're still wearing masks, so I think he's going to give you a mask because of inside the temple. We're just trying to keep people safe. So, upcoming announcement. The next major festival is what?
Lord Nrsimha.
Yes, Lord Nrsimha Dev Bhagavan Appearance Day Ki Jai. So that happens for our location. That happens in Saturday. It's coming Saturday. So email will be coming out from temple describing what's going to happen. So just kind of listen carefully because the timings are not like our Sunday feast timings. Okay. So at 4 p.m. we'll start with a yajna. The pujaris, Raman Prabhu, Sudhampran Prabhu will hold here. And it'll go for about 1 hour, give or take. And then after that, some of the youth will recite Nrsimha Kwach, the protective mantras of Lord Nrsimha Dev. And then at 5:30 we'll have Abhishek of Lord Nrsimha Dev. We have deity of Lord Nrsimha Dev, and there will be Abhishek for that. and then we'll have kirtan and we'll have lecture, okay? And then, of course, the prasadam to go after 8 o'clock. Generally, for all Vishnu Tattvas, you observe the end of fast when the Lord appears. So Lord Nrsimhadev appears at the twilight time. And because of that, fast breaking is usually at dusk, which is somewhere around 8:30, something like that. So prasadam will be distributed around 8 o'clock or so on that day. So starts at 4, ends with prasadam serve out to go at 8 or so. And you can break your fast. I think for this location, when I looked at it, depending on what portion of twilight you look at, probably starting at 8:30 p.m. Okay? Questions on that? So there's an opportunity, is that a lot of devotees have sponsored bhoga and decorations, I believe. And if devotees want to sponsor the Nrsimha Yajna, you can do so. The request is $101 for that. And then you will get a commemorative silver Nrsimha watch, that one per family, that you can take home with you, if that's clear. Okay, is that clear? So if you want to sponsor Nrsimha Yajna, then you can do so, and then for $101 donation, you will get a pure silver Nrsimha watch to take home with you on that day. And you can try that and put it around your neck, or one of your children can do that, etc. So if you're interested, let me know, or Vanali Prabhu. I saw him somewhere around here. So it happened. We ordered a bunch of them. I've understood that there's a fair amount of interest in the community for that. So we only have 20 because of short notice. That's all you could really get. So let us know if you're interested. Vanali Prabhu, are you here? So you can let Prabhu know if you're interested in obtaining one of those for your family, okay? I think that's it. And then Raj Bhog plate is available for sponsorship. If you want to take a prasada plate to your home, you can reach out to Ram Vanali Prabhu or Sudhava Prabhu, and they can make it happen. And you can take it home with you and share with your family. That's pretty common amongst most ISKCON temples. The devotees sponsor the Raj Bhog, and then they get to take a plate. It's not one thing I do want to explain, it's not a restaurant. So it's not like, okay, I want XYZ items, because deity service involves giving them the same set of items. Like they have to have rice, they have to have dal, they have to have a couple of sabjis, they have to have, some sweet. We can't change that. We can't say, okay, today they're only going to get this. Because Srila Prabhupada taught that serving deities is like serving your children and your parents. You need to give them same things daily. Okay, so it's prasadam, but you can take. It's healthy and good for you. So you can take that. You want to raise your hand? You can let him know. So he can share his WhatsApp number with you, and you can contact Prabhu, right? Prabhu is just saying that if you want to sponsor the Nrsimha Yajna and you want to sit next to the Havan coin and you sponsor, that please try to wear fresh clothing, etc. Because of the auspicious nature of the situation. Okay? Any questions? No? I think, is prasadam ready? I think prasadam should be ready. It was ready a little while ago. You can take prasadam and you can head out. Behind this hallway, right here, behind this wall, there's a big calendar with all the festivals, and you can sign up for it if you want to sponsor bhoga, decoration, etc. It's available. Okay? Yes?
It's my brother's birthday on 13 and Arjun's on 15.
I asked, but nobody said anything. You didn't say it again? I did ask? Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I asked her who came first, but it's usually the youth that tell me. Rahul, it's your birthday? Yes. I don't know. And Arjun?
Here.
No, I know. What's his birthday the same day?
15.
One day off?
Yeah.
How's it?
Yes.
Okay. So let's loudly congratulate Rahul Prabhu and Arjun with loud Hari Bol. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo. So, I wish them a happy birthday. How old is Arjun now? Arjun, how old are you? 5. Wow, okay, big. Remember you as a little baby, just like your brother. How's your brother doing, okay? Good. Okay. Any other birthdays?